The dumb blonde. A stereotype with roots that date back as far as the 18th century. Over the past 300 years, the preconceived notions around blonde women have had many transformations. From bombshell blonde, to ice-cold Hitchcock blonde, to dumb blonde, with the most recent stage of this evolution being the empowered blonde. A blonde woman that rises to the challenge despite biases against her. The most famous examples of this character trope are without a doubt Elle Woods from Legally Blonde and Cher from Clueless. Both defied the blonde stereotype by displaying self-assuredness and assertiveness. But if we take a closer look at the two films, we'll notice that they have a lot more in common than simply their protagonists. Like, way more. I didn't notice it until I made video essays on both films, but putting them side by side reveals quite an unnerving truth. Legally Blonde is a ripoff. And this is coming from a Legally Blonde stan, okay? Like, I love girly empowerment films. Probably because I was born in the 90s. But some things are just undeniable. The similarities between these two films go beyond archetypes and coincidence. Legally Blonde is a copycat. Now I can already feel everyone getting ready to spew pure, unfiltered hatred at me in the comments section. Believe me, I also wish it wasn't true. But before you turn to your keyboard, let's all take a breath together. It's gonna be fine. Let me hold your hand to give you a sense of comfort, which I will destroy in seconds when I point out everything that Legally Blonde stole from Clueless. Looking at the timelines of both creative projects, we can clearly see that Clueless is the elder sister. Even when we disregard Jane Austen's 1850 novel Emma, of which Clueless is a modern adaptation, Clueless still beats Legally Blonde to the finish line. Following a failed TV pilot script in 1993, the Clueless film came out in 1995 and was a critical and commercial success. The creative journey of Legally Blonde, on the other hand, only starts in 2000, when Amanda Brown wrote the comic novel based on her experiences as a blonde law student at Stanford. As we can see on the slide, class, Clueless had already finished its cycle of spin-off books and series before Amanda Brown's novel was published. So we can conclude that it is impossible for Clueless to have been influenced by Legally Blonde. But like I said in the introduction of this video, that same sentiment does not work the other way around. I am now going to talk you through every moment of the Legally Blonde film that felt a little bit too reminiscent of Clueless. Both films start with our blonde protagonist getting ready. While Cher is picking out her outfit for school, Elle is applying the finishing touches before her date with Warner. The setting of those opening scenes is also the same. They both take place in luxurious mansions. Cher struts around her multi-million home, and Elle is surrounded by her supportive Delta Nu sisters in their impressive sorority house. Clueless instantly introduces us to one of Cher's hilarious flaws, her being a bad driver. Although Elle's driving skills aren't part of the Legally Blonde narrative, the film does include a snippet of Elle pulling a dangerous U-turn when she sees a salon. A theme present in both films is law, which I'm sure you already thought of before I pointed it out. Cher's dad is a litigator attorney and Elle is attending Harvard Law School. Law being one of the foundation blocks of both films informs a few of the next commonalities. Both characters casually use the courtroom phrase, "I object." Cher in the tardiness speech scene, Elle in her application video when she gets harassed by a man. But more importantly, like true lawyers, both of our blondes aren't afraid to plead their case. Cher picked up this habit from her father, and even before attending Harvard, Elle puts a salesgirl in her place for trying to deceive her. But it goes even deeper than that! Not only aren't the girls afraid to stand up for what's right, they also use the same tactic. Both characters tell personal stories to demonstrate their point in a formal setting. As part of her pro-immigration argument, Cher brings up the story of people not RSVPing for her dad's birthday party during debate class. Elle actually manages to win her first court case by delving into the story of her and her friend's wet t-shirt competition. In both films, we get a moment where our protagonist refuses to get in the car. Elle caves when Warner mentions she might destroy her shoes, but Cher sticks to her guns. Snaps for Cher. Speaking of snaps, the popularization of this iconic catchphrase that wildly gets accredited to Legally Blonde was actually already launched in Clueless.
And I must give her snaps for her courageous fashion effort.
Instead of Ty, it is Elle who undergoes a transformation montage in Legally Blonde. Both blondes have adorable besties who they try to help in the romance department, and both blondes end up falling in love with the underdog nerd. Sadly, both of our protagonists also fall victim to unwanted sexual advances. And as a little cherry on top of the comparison cake, the final scene of Clueless is Cher attending Mr. Hall and Miss Geist's wedding, and in Legally Blonde, Emmett asks for Elle's hand in marriage. You can see where I'm coming from, right? It's pretty undeniable. So much so that people have actually theorized that Cher and Elle are the same person. After attending Bronson Alcott High School, our blonde goes off to college to study fashion merchandising. Very plausible, as Cher's love for fashion is made abundantly clear in Clueless. Then when her stupid boyfriend breaks up with her because he wants someone more serious, she makes it her life mission to get into the same law school. Again, something that wouldn't surprise me from Cher, as she shows tons of tenacity in the film, and at times questionable taste in men. Although very indulging and entertaining, this conspiracy theory has quite a lot of flaws. The biggest one by far being Elle's dad trying to talk her out of attending Harvard Law School. Cher's father would want nothing more than for Cher to follow in his footsteps. Another glitch in the Matrix would be Cher's mum coming back from the dead. I guess you could get away with saying that Cher's dad remarried and that Cher gets along with her new stepmom so well that she calls her mom? Maybe. But this conspiracy theory implies that Josh and Cher break up at some point, and I'm not on board with that. A more plausible explanation for our two blondes having so much in common is the fact that they both are based on another stereotype, the Valley Girl. Oxford Learner's Dictionary defines the Valley Girl as a rich girl who's thought to be only interested in things like fashion, shopping, and physical appearance, considered to be typical of young people living in the San Fernando Valley of California. I'm sure you're familiar with the, totally typical accent. In my search to find other examples that fall in the middle of the Valley Girl and empowered blonde Venn diagram, I stumbled across a 1983 rom-com called Valley Girl, featuring a very young Nicolas Cage, so of course I had to watch it. I wouldn't recommend it. My aim was to see if the lead girl, Julie, already flipped the blonde stereotype in some sort of way, but alas, it seems the 80s was not yet ready for that type of feminism. Although Julie didn't lay the groundwork for Cher's more empowered stance in Clueless, the film Valley Girl definitely inspired Clueless's format. The idea to reimagine a classic Jane Austen with a Valley Girl as the lead doesn't seem that original anymore once you realize Valley Girl is a modern adaptation of Romeo and Juliet, with a Valley Girl as the lead. A possible contender for being the trailblazer of the empowered blonde Valley combo is Buffy the Vampire Slayer, a blonde cheerleader from the Valley who kills vampires at night. The hugely popular series only came about in 1997, but the original film predates Clueless with a 1992 release. In a way, you could say that Clueless is the result of mixing Valley Girl's format with the flipping of the stereotype of Buffy. But I would instantly rebuke that by pointing out that Austen's original protagonist, Emma, already exhibited the attributes to debunk the blonde stereotype. Perhaps that's exactly why Amy Heckerling, the writer of Clueless, chose to reimagine this classic. Or perhaps she just accidentally struck gold with the timing of the changing attitude toward the fair-haired girlies. The 90s definitely kickstarted a whole slew of blonde characters who turn out to be very competent and complex. This wave carried on all the way through the 2000s, with Elle Woods definitely being one of its most prominent figures. Okay, so far we've only discussed how Legally Blonde got some inspo from Clueless. But what if we reverse that? Anne, I thought you said that wasn't possible due to the timelines of the creative projects? I did say that! Thank you for paying attention. Wise nose.
However,
I was only talking about the films. And unless you've been living under a rock or you haven't seen any of my previous vids, which, shame on you, you will know that chick flicks from the 90s/early 2000s cannot escape their fate. The stage musical adaptation. Legally Blonde the musical premiered in 2007 on Broadway and has since become the holy grail for musicals based on films. Yes, I've given it that title, but I'm still waiting for someone to come change my mind. The immense success of this show had other chick flick copyright holders thinking, hey, I also want more money. Maybe I can do that. And so they did that, with various outcomes. I quite liked the Mean Girls musical in 2017, but was less of a fan of Pretty Woman in 2018. I've made a video discussing my feelings on The Devil Wears Prada 2022 stage adaptation, which brings me to 2025. Clueless making its West End debut. It's worth noting that the Clueless musical already had a previous life off-Broadway as a jukebox musical with Dove Cameron donning the yellow plaid suit. But I didn't see that version, and according to the reviews, it wasn't that good. So for the sake of this video, let's just focus on the Clueless musical that is currently playing at the Trafalgar Theatre. If you compare the Clueless musical to the Legally Blonde one, some interesting commonalities rear their little heads. Oh, how the tables have turned. Like we already discussed when comparing the films, the two stories have a lot of overlap. And that is obviously still the case for the musicals. But where the two go their separate ways is with the music. Or do they? The iconic Legally Blonde score is the brainchild of couple Nell Benjamin and Lawrence O'Keefe, whose other respective credits include Mean Girls the Musical and Heathers the Musical. Need I say more? Given their track records, employing these two musical theater veterans was definitely a risk-free choice. The Clueless creators went quite the opposite way and decided to put singer-songwriter Katie Tunstall in charge of the score. The pop singer to musical theater composer pipeline can be quite a hit or miss. And personally, I thought Tunstall's lack of experience with the musical theater medium was noticeable. Especially comparing it to Legally Blonde's rich soundtrack, the music of Clueless at times just felt a little bit bare-boned. That being said, I did stumble upon a few interesting similarities. When you go through the two soundtracks with a fine-tooth comb, you'll come across a few instances where it looks like perhaps Clueless took a page out of Legally Blonde's book. Both the choruses of the opening number start on the same note, a C, and have similar descending melodic patterns. Oh my god, everything is. As part of her personal essay, Elle performs a dance to marching band drums. Clueless's transformation song, New Girl, also includes a section where the music reduces to drums only. 1, 2, 3, show some energy! In the film, Cher only finds out about Christian sexuality from Murray in the highway scene. The musical, however, astutely observed from the Legally Blonde song Serious that it works very well to crush your blondie's expectations in a song. And thus the song Tonight was born. The final scene in Clueless now also includes a saying from an old wise man. In Legally Blonde, Vivian quotes Shakespeare, and in Clueless, Cher brings up Socrates. But the biggest evidence of Clueless copying Legally Blonde is that they both subvert the expectations of their title song. Making Legally Blonde the song that Elle sings when she decides to leave Harvard is quite a rogue choice. The assumption from a Pink loud musical would be for the title track to follow suit, maybe even be the pinnacle of this electric energy. But the writers cleverly went against the expectation and utilized this moment to showcase Elle's vulnerabilities, to show us the effect being judged by her looks has on her. This subversion of the title trick is something that I hadn't seen in shows before. And then Clueless came along. The song starts with flipping Cher's campy catchphrase, as if. Instead of using it to reject gross high school boys, she now sings it in the context of her feeling completely lost. I thought that I was in control, as if. Thought I was really on a roll, as if. When she then has her I love Josh epiphany, she starts singing about how clueless she was, but still in quite a subdued manner. Where Legally Blonde really shines is that later on in the story, Elle reclaims the phrase. The Legally Blonde remix becomes an empowering anthem celebrating her unique self. Clueless somewhat tries to emulate this flipping effect by having Cher and Josh declare their love for one another in the song. Essentially, the word she uses to beat herself up with at the beginning of the track becomes a shared sentiment between the two of them that allows them to grow closer together. Definitely a more gentle progression than the Legally Blonde remix showstopper, but Clueless makes up for it with a dynamic finale number. And this concludes our Legally Blonde versus Clueless deep dive. I found it absolutely fascinating to research these shows, and I'm kind of hoping that you guys can divulge some juicy facts that I might have missed in the comment section. If you enjoyed this essay, I encourage you to have a look at my girly musical theater playlist here. And also subscribe, of course, if you're feeling generous. Snaps for making it till the end of the video, so long farewell, auf Wiedersehen, goodbye!